Yeah. Well, here we are celebrating what is the most incredible week in all of human history. Lots of things some 2,000 years or so ago happened during these few days. Just a couple days ago we celebrated Palm Sunday, where Jesus got on the back of a colt and rode into Jerusalem, making a statement that he was king. Not the kind of king that the people wanted, but he was truly the king. They worshiped, they celebrated him on that day. They laid the palm branches down and they waved them. But it was just a few days after that the crowd turns against him. They start lying about him. They start making plans to basically quiet Jesus. You have the scene where Jesus is at the garden. He's praying. You know, he humanly would want this cup to pass because he knew what was coming just around the corner. And he didn't want to go through that humanly, as none of us would, but in his spirit, he was still willing. He gets arrested, he gets tried, he is brutally tortured, he's crucified. And then what we're going to be celebrating this coming Sunday, Easter Sunday, is the fact that he arose from the dead. He conquered death, hell, and the grave. He paid the price for our sin. And this Sunday is always just an incredibly special day in the lives of so many people. And we have our special traditions for Easter Sunday, right? For the McNichols family, we would come to church, we would celebrate with our church family, have a great time doing that. When church would be dismissed, we would go out, we would talk to people, but in the midst of talking to people, I would probably have one of my kids pulling at me going, "Dad, we got to step outside a minute to take a family picture," and we would run outside just long enough to take a family Easter picture, which is traditional for us to do every Easter. And we put it on Facebook, you know, et cetera, et cetera. We'd then go home, have lunch. My parents would probably be with us having lunch and enjoying lunch together. Later on that evening, we would likely end up over at a friend's house, just hanging out and enjoying the remainder of the day with them. I don't know what your traditions typically are for Easter, maybe an egg hunt with the kids or whatever. But things have changed, right, this Easter. Things are going to look totally different. But one of the things that I want to encourage you in is that the main thing about Easter has not changed. Our traditions may be thrown up in the air, our lunches together, our family photos, that may all be out the window, but the important thing about Easter has not been affected one iota. You remember the story in Matthew, he describes it in Matthew chapter 25, where Jesus, his body, he had been crucified, he had been buried in that tomb. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they're going to Jesus on that morning with spices to continue to take care of his body. I'm assuming to just spend some quiet time and just mourn the loss. And they get to the tomb on that morning, and everything they had thought, everything they had planned for was just thrown up in the air. It was totally not what they expected. They get there, the Roman guards, they're laying prostrate on the ground as if they're dead. An angel literally is at the tomb of Jesus. And this is what the angel says to the ladies in Matthew 28 verse 5. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, he has risen. Just as he said, he has risen." That morning didn't turn out at all like they had planned. This coming Sunday morning is going to be totally different than what you and I would plan for an Easter Sunday. It reminds me of, occasionally I'll do a wedding and something will go awry with the wedding, a few hours before it's ready to start. Someone shows up late, someone forgot the communion elements, somebody forgot a marriage certificate, whatever. And the bride or her mom ultimately will start freaking out. And I'm able to look them in the eye and assure them that even though some of these elements are not going to be exactly like you want them to be, at the end of the day, you're still going to end up married. The job is still going to get done. And so that makes me think of this coming Sunday as we celebrate Easter. It's going to look totally different than we would normally have planned. But the job that needed to get done, it's done. It's complete. Jesus has risen from the dead. He has conquered death, hell, and the grave. Death was arrested. Sin was atoned for. And because of that, we have hope. We have hope. And I know that many of you watching and listening right now, you need hope. Maybe you're in a marital situation where you're going, man, I need hope in my marriage. Or maybe some of you have children who are making just crazy choices that you don't understand and you need hope in that situation. Or maybe it's a career situation or a health situation where you're going, I need hope. Listen, this Sunday is going to look totally different than it normally ever would for your Easter traditions, but because the job is complete, you have hope. The main thing is that Jesus is still risen from the dead, sin is still atoned for, and because of that, we have hope. And I would encourage you, don't keep this to yourself. I would invite you to tell your friends about it. Church Online with New Life. We're going to be preaching the message of hope specifically for people who don't necessarily know the entirety of the story, specifically for people who don't go to church on a regular basis. Maybe they've never been to church. We're going to speak to them. And so I would challenge our people, invite. Watch us, join us in worship at newlifenaz.net as we celebrate the hope of Easter this coming Sunday. Hope you have a great day. Love you guys. You have no idea how bad I miss each and every one of you. Can't wait to be back with you.